Hello, students. Good morning. Today I have brought for you a very fantastic, heart-touching story, An Angel in Disguise. So open your book and get ready to understand this story. In this story, students, you will come to know how a girl became the blessings for a couple that was childless. And on the other hand, the childless couple too became the blessings for the girl. So name of the title is An Angel in Disguise. It means an angel actually came into the family of someone, but not in the angelic form, but in guise of a human being. So how in human form a human can be the angel for someone, and this thing we will learn this in this story. So, students, get ready to understand the contents. Idleness, vice, and impertinence. Students, you know idleness. That is the state when somebody does nothing. Simply he or she passes out the time. That is idleness. Vice actually is the immoral behavior. That is the wicked behavior. And third thing is the intemperance. Intemperance means, so the students, when somebody is indulged too much in consuming alcoholic beverages, alcohol, and these three demerits actually were there in a lady who lived in a village, and very poor effect could be seen on her body of these three ill qualities. That the dead mother lay cold, because of which the lady actually died in front of the three children. She had the three children, and John, Kate, and third one was Maggie. And still, amid her wretched children, wretched means poor conditioned children, hungry looking children, and in the mid of them she was lying. The dead body of that very lady was lying. And students, she had fallen upon the threshold of her own door in the drunken fit. And students, as she was lying in drunkard state before her house, and in wretched condition, in miserable condition, at the floor of an entrance. Threshold means, students, floor of the entrance of a building. So she was lying in drunken state and died in the presence of her frightened little ones, and children were looking very frightened, very horrified, and to see their mother dead. And death touches the spring of common humanity. This woman had been despised, scoffed at, and angrily denounced by nearly every man, woman, and child in the village. As you know, students, a person's value actually comes before someone when the person is no more on the earth. Similarly, death actually creates the feelings of humanity in other humans, those who were living in the village. And woman earlier was hated by everyone in the village, ridiculed. Scoffed means ridiculed, hasi banana, laughed at. Everybody used to laugh at her, and they actually denounced means publicly criticize. They criticize her publicly, openly, before everyone, without any hesitation. And not a single man, woman, and child was there in the village who did not criticize her. But now, as the fact of her death was passed from lip to lip, now this news of her death actually passed from person to person. One person told another one, another to another one, and in subdued tones, not openly, but in subdued tones, means dabi hui आवाज में, and they passed the news of her death. They spread everywhere. Pity took the place of anger. The students, earlier the people used to be angry with that very lady. Now, in place of anger, their heart was filled with pity for her. First of all, they used to criticize her publicly, but in place of criticism, now they were feeling sorrow, sadness for her. Neighbors went hastily to the old tumble down hut. Tumble down means, hota hai students, very poor conditioned hut, and those people actually started running very fast to that very hut in which her dead body was lying, and securing more than the place of shelter. It means that the family was extremely poor. No more space was there in the family inside the hut. And that very hut used to protect them in heat, in summer season, and from winter in winters, and from winter in winter season, and some with grave clothes for a decent uh, interment of the body. And now, students, some people actually came to that very hut with the used clothes, but clothes were very nice, and they came there with such clothes for the proper burial of that dead body, so that the body can be buried uh, in a proper way, and some with food for the starving children, because children were looking starved. So that's why some of the people of the village were there who brought some food items for the children, for the three children. And namely, first one, elder one was John. He was the eldest of the three, and second, he was 12 years of young, and he was 12 years age is a bit mature age, and he could be very useful for any farmer he if any farmer adopts him. Second girl was Kate, and she was a 10 to 11 years young girl, and she was a bright looking girl, active looking girl, and if somebody takes her up, adopts her, then obviously some good or clever thing might be taken from her side, if in good hands. But if some good person adopts her, then obviously she would get good nourishment, good care, and from those very hands. But poor little Maggie, the youngest, was hopelessly diseased. Now, the students, you should learn about the third child, that was Maggie, and she was hopelessly diseased. Means she was bedridden, and her spine was damaged after being fallen from the window, and she had been able to leave her bed since. Since then, actually, she was not able to come down from her bed except when lifted in the arms of her mother. Only when she was lifted by some other one and getting the support of some other one, from her mother especially, and she was able to leave the bed. Otherwise, she remained on her bed ever. Now, the students, what is to be done with the children? Now, the question was that after the death of the mother, what is to be done? And what the three children will do? That was the main question, that was the main concern. And the dead mother would go underground. This was very simply to understand, that the dead mother would be buried, and after her burial, be forever beyond all care or concern of the villagers. Now, the villagers who were earlier jealous of her, who hated her, who even did not take care of her at all, now the lady was beyond all those very concerns. Now she would be buried, and she would be out of all the tensions of the world. But now the three children, and there was no caretaker of the three children, and three children were at the verge of starvation, and so that's why there is a requirement of a caretaker of those children. And after considering the matter and taking it over with his wife, first of all, Farmer Jones actually came forward, and showing of the sympathetic heart for the three children. First of all, he considered the things, issues, whether the child should be taken or adopted or not. Thereafter, after considering with his wife, after taking the consultation with his wife, and he preferred John. John was the eldest one, and do well by him, because he knew it very well that he can be a good source of income for him. So that's why he showed the keen interest in adopting the eldest son, John. Now, the students, Mrs. Alice, this was the other lady who had been looking out for a bound girl for a very long time. She was seeking out such a girl who could be bound and should do the work for her, ever living inside her house, and should take care of the households. And this was the best target for her, best element for her to take care. But now she was a clever lady, showing the people that out of charity she is doing the work, and she knows it. Everybody knows it very well that Mrs. Katie is very clever, and she knows it very well. Taking up this child, she might be doing something clever in future. She may use that very girl for her own purpose, but still she showed the keen interest in adopting that very girl, Katie. I could do much better, I know, said Mrs. Alice. These were the views of Mrs. Alice. And she said that some better options actually I should have, but still, as nobody is showing inclination or willing to take that very girl, so that's why, showing the humanity and showing the good sense, I am adopting her. Though I know it very well that this child in the beginning will be very troublesome for me, but still I am going to take up this undisciplined thing, means indisciplined child. who is too young and is quite useless for me this time. First of all, she needs my care. Thereafter, I can get the better things from her. Now, students, next one is, but no one said I will take Maggie because Maggie was bedridden. She was differently abled, according to them, so that's why pitying glances were cast on the man wasted form. People were having the pitiful glances, but actually they were just rolling over their eyes from this side to that side. But they were not troubled. They were not feeling any pain for that very girl inside that heart. Mother brought cast off garments, no doubt in it. Cast off means, what the students? Used garments. And they brought used garments for the children, for Maggie, removing her soiled and ragged clothes. Soiled and ragged means old and dirty clothes Maggie was already wearing, and they dressed her up in the clean attire. Attire means clothes, and his sad eyes and patient face of little one touched many hearts. No doubt, because Maggie was looking sad, and her face was quite calm and patientful, but still lots of people's heart actually she touched, but nobody was ready to give the entrance to that very daughter, to that very girl inside their heart. But none opened to take her in, who wanted a bedridden child, because they knew it very well that she was bedridden and is quite out of use for them. Take her to the poor house, said the rough man. And there was a man in the village, students, and he was the adult man, and this was the suggestion of that very person, and the suggestion was to take that very girl to the poor house. And this suggestion he had given when the suggestion was demanded from him by the people. Second person actually responded, poor house is a sad place, and this child actually will do nothing and will not get nice care from that very place. Then the person objected that your child is not being sent to the poor house, not my child is being sent to the poor house. You must understand that poor house is not such a place where she would not get the blessed things. She would be taken care well, and the doctor will be there, and doctor will take care of her well, and she will be in a better condition than that of the things which she was getting earlier from her mother. So that is the best place for her to live. And there were reason in that, but still it did not satisfy. Nobody actually paid attention towards his suggestion, though suggestion was quite logical. The day following the day of the death was made the day of burial. Now the students, the lady, next day was decided for that very lady, dead lady, to be buried. Few neighbors only took interest and to follow the miserable hovel, means that very cart in which actually dead body was being carried. And nobody went to the crematorium, because according to them the lady actually was the dishonored, means unhonored, means no respect at all, and she did not have any respect at all in the village. So that's why for the pauper grave means simple grave, and nobody took any interest in reaching that very spot, which was quite not worth consideration. Farmer Jones, after the coffin was taken out, now the students, just after the coffin was taken out, thereafter Jones, who had already planned to take the eldest son, that was John, and he took him on his wagon and drove away very fast from that very spot. He was looking quite satisfied that he had done whatever the mercy, whatever the sympathy he could show from his side, he had already done. Now Alice spoke to Katie with a hurried air. Hurried air means showing the quick feelings. Alice, without any delay, and told the second child to say goodbye to Maggie, because she was looking in haste. She did not want to stay over there, linger over there anymore, and hardly actually the goodbye words came onto the lips of the sobbing or the weeping children, and she took that very girl with her. Two children actually could not say goodbye to each other in a proper way. But before saying goodbye, before letting them to say goodbye, she took the second child, that was the girl, with her. Hastily others went out. Now Maggie was left and other people went out, only throwing the glances over her, and some resolutely refraining from a look. Now students, some of the people actually were quite firm. They were making themselves firm. They wanted to have a look towards Maggie, but still they took their look off, and they did not look at all towards that very child. And until they all had gone, she was alone. Now after the departure of all the people, actually Maggie was left alone at that very place. Just beyond the threshold, Joe Thompson, the wheelwright, Wheelwright means the person who deals the work of wheels, means who just maintains the carts of the children and work and deals in wheels. And he paused, means he stopped at the entrance of the hut and said to the blacksmith's wife. One lady was left, and who was the wife of a blacksmith, and who was hastening off with the rest, as the other people were showing hurry, and they were looking in a hurry to leave that very place. She was also looking in a hurry, but Joe Thompson stopped her and wanted to know why the people actually were doing so cruel thing, so inhuman activity with that very girl that is left, Maggie, and then take to the poor house. She will have to go there. Now the blacksmith's wife, in a very flat way, suggested Mr. Joe Thompson to take that very girl to the poor house, because that was the combined suggestion of all the people to take or get the child admitted in the poor house. So that's why, if nobody is showing interest to take her to poor house, then he should take that very girl and reach the poor house. For a little while, the man stood with a puzzled air, and then he turned back. First of all, Mr. Thompson was looking somewhat puzzled. Then he came forward, and thereafter he went backward once again and entered inside the hut. Maggie, with a painful effort, has raised herself to an upright position. Maggie actually felt a great pain. She she tried her level best to make her body straight or to sit on the bed where she was sitting, straining her eyes upon the door, and she was now looking surprisingly towards the door, of which all had just departed, because all the people through that very door had right now gone, and a person, Joe Thompson, was standing now over there, and the girl had left all the hopes of anybody's arrival over there. A vague terror had come into her thin white face. Now the girl was looking quite terrified, and because she had no other option left for the night to stay, and how the night would pass, this was the main question, main concern for her. Oh, Mr. Thompson. When she threw the glances over Mr. Thompson, that was the last hope for her, and now she was looking so excited to see Mr. Thompson standing over there. Now she could hardly control her suspended breath. Don't leave me here all alone. Now the girl requested Mr. Thompson not to go and not to leave her alone at that very place. Though rough in exterior, Joe Thompson, the wheelwright, had a heart. Joe Thompson was actually looking rough and tough man, and no smile on his face, but still he had the sympathetic heart, and it was very tender in some places. And there are some junctions, there are some places where he used to show mercy. He was looking quite sympathetic, and that was the place where he should do the same. He liked children. And students, children, actually he liked some of the children actually used to come to his shop, and he used to mend their vehicles without taking any draft or money from them, because that money according to him was the hoarded, means saved money of the children, because they used to save that very money, sixpences, but he did not take money from them. Without taking any money, he used to mend their carts. Now, no dear, he answered in a voice going to the bed, and Joe Thompson assured Maggie not to leave her alone, and he stooped down over the child. Stoop means jhuk jana, bends down, and you shall not be left here alone, and I will not leave you alone, Joe Thompson assured her, and he wrapped her with a gentleness almost of a woman. Now he showed off the same feminine tenderness to the girl as a lady could show, and Joe Thompson actually wrapped that very girl with tenderness and in clean wear clothes, and which some neighbor had brought. These clean clothes were brought by some neighbor, and lifting her in her strong arms. Now Joe Thompson lifted Maggie in her strong arms and carried her out into the air. Bore means carried. Into the open sky, across the field, because after passing or going through the fields, his house was there, and between his house and this hovel or this hut, there were some fields, and he had to cross those very fields to reach his house. Now the students, Joe Thompson, look here, next page. Now Joe Thompson's wife, who happened to be childless. Now Joe Thompson's wife actually has no child, and was not a woman of saintly temper, and she was not a woman of saint-like temperament was not as much good, but still nor giving to self denial for others' good. Sometimes, whenever she got the chance to help out others, she did not stop herself and help the people with open heart. But not all the time, and Joe had well grounded doubts touching the manner greeting he should receive on his arrival. Joe Thompson already knew it very well that his wife actually only at some junction, some time actually looked quite merciful, but she would receive him not as much warmly as he was expecting, and the same happened with him. Mr. Thompson saw him approaching from the window, and now Mrs. Thompson, who was watching out Mr. Thompson from the window, actually she had already seen him, and with ruffling feathers, and met him with a few paces from the door. Now, as if she had the wings, she quickly reached the door before the entry of Mr. Thompson. As he opened the garden gate, first of all, he had to enter inside the garden, thereafter into the main house and main building, and he bore a precious burden. Mr. Thompson was lifting in her arms Maggie. Maggie was not a, though no doubt in it, Maggie was a heavy in weight, but she was precious for their family, and he felt it to be so. And Mr. Thompson was feeling it also, feeling Maggie inside his heart also, inside his feelings also, as his arms held the sick child to the breast. A spear of tenderness went out from her, and now penetration could be seen, penetration could be felt, and Maggie was actually penetrating such wonderful tender feeling inside the heart of Mr. Thompson that Mr. Thompson was quite gleeful, and he could not express his feelings in words. A bond had already corded itself around them both. Now there's a specific bond developed between the two. Now Joe Thompson was feeling such a wonderful bond of love, and love was springing into life, and now he was feeling this love inside his heart from Maggie. What have you there? Sharply questioned Mr. Thompson. Mrs. Thompson asked Mr. Thompson what he had brought to the family. Without her permission, Joe felt the child start and shrink against him. The child, Maggie, was looking quite hesitated because of such behavior of Mrs. Thompson. She was shrinking her body, and he did not reply except by a look. Mr. Thompson actually looked at his wife with pleading look, with cautionary look, with merciful, pleading, requesting to have mercy for the child. There was the look of possessiveness in his eyes towards that very girl, and he wanted such possessiveness for the girl from his wife. Wait a moment for explanations and be gentle, and as if he wanted to tell his wife that this is not the appropriate time to give explanation, and this is the time to be gentle. And passing in, carried Maggie to the small chamber on the first floor. Mr. Thompson did not talk to his wife, only he showed the lovable, possessive looks towards his wife, and keeping in his eyes, and thereafter he moved to the small chamber of the first floor and kept the child over the bed and made her lie over there, and then stepping back, Mr. Thompson came back and shut the door and stood face to face now with his vinegar tempered wife, sad, angry looking wife, and passageway outside. Now he came down. Now both of the couple was standing in a passageway. You have not brought home that sick brat. Brat means a person, a child who does not know the manners, how to eat, how to behave. And why you have just brought that very child? Anger and astonishment were there in the tones of Mrs. Joe Thompson. And two expressions were there. She was looking angry also. She was looking surprised also. How Mr. Thompson, who was a sensible man, can bring another load for the family. Already there was tension in the family, no child was there, and her face was in a flame. Means she was looking very angry. I think women's hearts are sometimes very hard, Mr. Thompson thought. Mr. Thompson said that women's hearts are really very hard. There's no mercy in the hearts of the women sometimes, and usually Joe Thompson got out of his wife's way or kept rigidly silent and non-combative, and when she fired up on any subject. This was the habit of Mr. Thompson, that whenever his wife actually looked aggressive or ill-tempered, then Mr. Thompson actually became silent, and he did not want to argue with his wife on that very topic, and he surrendered always. It was with some surprise, therefore, that she now encountered a firmly set countenance. So that's why now today she was looking surprised because she was facing, she was looking into the eyes of Mr. Thompson, and that was not going down. Mr. Thompson was persistently looking into the eyes of his wife now today, as if he was looking quite firm, taking that very child, Maggie. Women hearts are not half so hard as men's. Now, this was the statement of Mrs. Thompson, and she said that women are always merciful and they are not half hearted, half hard hearted as men are. Zoe saw by the quick intuition. Intuition means sense and natural sense, and by the quick intuition that resolute bearing had impressed his wife. Joe Thompson's trick actually worked, and he was simply pretending to look serious. But now, as his wife actually was looking normal, as his wife was just surrendering before him, so that's why now he answered, but this time with real anger. Okay, because he knew it very well. Indignation means anger, and be that it may, every woman at the funeral turned her eyes. He told every story, each and everything, whatever he had witnessed earlier, and how the people actually were quite indifferent taking that very child, and they turned their eyes off and from her. And when the cart went out, the dead mother hurried away. When her dead mother was taken away, and everybody actually was looking quite indifferent. Maggie was left alone in the hut, and only 1 hour was left for the sunset. Then Mr. Thompson inquired his wife what the child would do if the sun had set at night, what she would do. Where were John and Kate? Asked Mrs. Thompson, now demanded, and she wanted to know about the other two children. Farmer Jones tossed John into the wagon, and he informed his wife how Mr. Jones actually took John into his wagon, and how actually Katie went home with Mrs. Alice, and nobody wanted to the poor sick one and send her to the poor house. Only this was the cry of the people, because everybody wanted that the Maggie should be sent to the poor house. Why didn't you let her go? And this was the question asked by Mrs. Thompson, and she appealed to Mr. Thompson, and why you stopped there, why Mr. Thompson stopped there, and she should also do the same, should have do the same as the other people wanted. She cannot walk to the poor house, said Zoe. Then Zoe said that Maggie was not able to go to poor house, and somebody's arms must carry her. And Joe Thompson thought that his arms are strong enough to take her to the poor house. Then why didn't you keep on? Why didn't you stop here? And he said that why didn't you keep on? Why didn't you continue? And you should have stopped to poor house. Why you stopped over here? And because I am not apt to go for fool's errands. Errands means jobs. Mr. Thompson told his wife that he was not a fool, because first fools are the people those who without inquiry, without any investigation, directly they move on to get the task done. So first of all, I am not a fool. First of all, I need to get permission. First of all, he need to find the poor house, where the poor house is, and thereafter permission is required from the caretakers of the poor house. There was no gainsaying this, gainsaying Kamala, no opposition. Now the wife was looking satisfied with the statement of Mr. Thompson. When will you see the guardians? And was asked with irrepressible impatience. Now Mrs. Thompson was looking quite impatient. She was unable to control her patience, and being uncontrolled, she wanted to know. And when Mr. Thompson would go to find out the guardians of the poor house. When Mr. Thompson replied that he would go tomorrow, then go at once for the permit, and the whole thing off your hands tonight. Mrs. Thompson advised him not to procrastinate the work, and directly on that very day he should go. Why tomorrow? And because whatever the responsibilities he can do from his side, then all the responsibilities will be cast off, will be completed, whatever on his part. So right now he should go. Jane said the wheelwright with the impressiveness of tone that greatly subdued his wife. Now Joe Thompson, in a very impressive tone, retorted his wife, and because of which his wife was looking calm and quiet. He gave the example to his wife about Bible, how in Bible Jesus Christ, the Savior, used to protect children, used to take care of the children. Even he requested his disciples, his students, that to look after the children in all the possible concerns. and he took them in his arms. He lifted the children. Jesus Christ also lifted the children in his arms and took care of them. And he also told his disciples that whosoever actually would take care of the children would offer them a cup of cold water, then he would give them reward from his side. And Jesus Christ, if could do such a good work for the children, why not we can do? Because we are the human beings, at least we can do some simple jobs for the children, simple effort for the children. And only this is the question of single night, and after this night she will get admitted to some poor house. So that's why in a very comfortable way we should let her live for the one night. The voice of the strong, rough man shook, and Mr. Thompson, giving such an explanation to his wife, was looking quite emotional, and there were tears in his eyes, moisture in his eyes could be seen. Mrs. Thompson actually did not answer at all, and she was also feeling a soft feeling crept into her heart. She was also feeling sympathetic for the girl. Look at her kindly, Zane. Speak to her kindly, said Zoe. Zoe Thompson appealed to his wife to be kind and sympathetic to the girl and not to throw the harsh looks towards the girl. Think of her dead mother. And he appealed to her wife that not to be so careless. At least she should think about her dead mother, about her loneliness, about her pain, about the sorrow. Actually, all these things she should consider. The softness of his heart gave unwanted eloquence to his lips. Unwanted eloquence, a very nice oration, a very nice speaker, perfect speaker actually. He was feeling himself now today, and this perfection in his speaking came only because of the sophisticated feelings which were generated in his heart for Maggie. Mr. Thompson did not reply. Mrs. Thompson कुछ नहीं बोली, but presently turned towards the little chamber. Now she turned herself towards the little chamber, and where Mr. Thompson earlier went with Maggie, and pushing open the door now very quietly, and she went inside the door. Joe did not follow because he knew it very well that some time should be given to both of them for setting up the good mutual understanding, so that his wife should understand Maggie and her feelings. So he went to his shop. Rather entering inside the room, he went to his shop, and which stood near the house. Shop was also not very far from the house, and he worked at the shop till evening, and from dawn to dusk he was busy there. And thereafter a light shining through the little chamber. When he was coming back, he could see the light that was shining in his room, and that was striking to his eyes, and was the first object. And first of all, he could see such a beam and such a striking beam of light that was directly coming to her, coming to him, and it was good omen. Joe Thompson understood it very well that this was the good indication. If the light is on, it means that some conversation must be going on between Maggie and his wife. The path led him by this window. First of all, actually, he was coming to that very path. He crossed his house, he crossed the window, but later on he came back, and it was dark enough. Now it was dark enough outside, so that's why if he could peep through the window, then nobody would keep him in observation. He could screen himself, he could hide himself from being observed, and so he saw from the window what actually inside the room was going on. To check it out, Maggie lay a little raised on the pillow with the lamp shining. Now Maggie was lying, and over her a lamp was shining, and Mrs. Thompson was sitting by the bed and talking to the child, but her back was towards the window. But students, Mr. Thompson could not see clearly because Mrs. Thompson was sitting before Maggie, and from the window he was peeping out. He could see only the back of his wife, and he could not see the countenance, he could not see the face of Maggie, he could not see what the conversation actually was going on between the twos from Maggie's face. But fortunate thing was that he could see the face of Maggie from window, though the back of his wife, but face of Maggie. And through the facial expressions of Maggie, he could easily understand what the topic, how sort of conversation must be going on between the twos. And he saw that her eyes were intently fixed upon his wife. Now, what Mr. Thompson had seen, and Mr. Thompson had seen that Maggie was fixedly, without taking off her eyes, was looking into the eyes of his wife, and now and then a few words came. She was speaking out also some words as if in answers from her lips, and she must be giving the response to his wife and the questions of his wife. That her expression was sad and tender, and but he saw nothing of bitterness or pain. Now, though expressions of Maggie were looking full of tenderness and full of silence, but actually there was no bitterness, no pain on the face of Maggie. And to see such a face where there was tenderness, where there was no bitterness, and he guessed that Maggie is quite satisfied, quite happy in company of his wife. A deep drawn breath was followed. Mr. Thompson actually took a sigh of relief, and thereafter he felt that a big load actually has gone off from his heart. Already he was feeling whether the adjustment between Maggie and his wife would be possible or not, but now he was looking quite satisfied. On entering, Zoe did not go immediately to the little chamber. Zoe did not go immediately to the room. First of all, his heavy tread means tread about the kitchen. First of all, he walked all around the kitchen, brought his wife somewhat hurriedly from the room and to get the attention of his wife. And when his wife understood that somebody had come, Mr. Thompson had come, then she came out of that very room very fast, because she did not want to show Mr. Thompson that she was taking care of Maggie. Joe thought it best not to refer to the child. Joe also did not mention any reference of the child, because he wanted that his wife should start the topic. So that's why he was looking not concerned towards that very girl. And how soon will supper be ready? Mr. Thompson demanded. How much time actually will be there? In how much time the food will be ready? Mrs. Thompson was looking very happy this time, and because of the good enjoyment in company of Maggie, and she, in a very good tone, and there was no asperity in her voice. Now this time there was no harshness, no roughness in her voice, and she assured her husband that she will take no more time in preparing food for him. And after washing from his hands and face the dust and soil of the work, Joe left the kitchen. Thereafter, first of all, Joe actually washed off his hands, face, and thereafter he was ready to eat food and went to the little bedroom where Maggie was. A pair of large bright eyes looked up at him. Now, Maggie threw her innocent looks onto the face of Mr. Thompson, and Mr. Thompson was looking at Maggie, and who was looking on her bed, over which a white sheet was spread, and there was tender look, grateful look, requestful look in the eyes of Maggie, and how his heart swelled in his bosom. Mr. Thompson actually felt his feelings to come out for this girl, and with what a quicker motion came the heartbeats, and the heart was beating very fast, and because of being too much sympathetic towards Maggie, Joe Thompson sat down now, and for the first time he was examining the face of Maggie under the lamplight. He was watching out very carefully and saw that it was an attractive face, good face, full of childish sweetness could be seen over the face, and whatever the sufferings actually the girl had gone through, and these sufferings actually could not be seen anywhere. And your name is Maggie? Mr. Thompson asked the girl whether her name was Maggie. The girl actually replied yes, and Mr. Thompson had taken her little hands in his own hands, and girl, to show the sympathy towards the girl replied in positive, and as she spoke, her voice was looking very very nice and low string. Her voice was looking as if as if some musical instruments chords have been struck, and as sweet tone is produced when the strains are struck, are played. Such a sweet voice actually was of Maggie. Have you been sick long? This was the question of Mr. Thompson. Okay, was she sick for a very long time? The girl once again in a patientful tone said yes. Has the doctor been to see you? Were you in the care of the doctor? The girl said that he used to come, but not lately. Recently, actually, doctor had not come. No, sir. Have you been any pain? When Mr. Thompson asked her, have you been not attended by the doctor nowadays? The girl replied in negative. Then Mr. Thompson asked her about her pain. The girl, Maggie, told him that she feels pain, but not all the time, but sometimes she feels it. Where had you pain? Mr. Thompson asked. When she feels pain. The girl said that at the morning time when Mr. Thompson was carrying her in his arms, that at that very time she was feeling pain, but this time actually she was feeling no pain. It hurts you to be lifted or moved about, and जब भी तुमको उठाया जाता है या इधर से उधर ले जाया जाता है तो डू यू फील पेन? द गर्ल रिप्लाइड यस. एंड योर साइड डज नॉट एक नाउ? आर यू फीलिंग द सेम पेन स्टिल नाउ इन योर साइड्स? द गर्ल सेड नो सर. डज इट टेक ए ग्रेट डील? ग्रेट डील मीन्स बहुत ज़्यादा. क्या पेन बहुत ज़्यादा होता है? एंड द गर्ल रिप्लाइड यस सर, बट इट हैज़ any since I have been on this soft bed. Now as the girl had received the wonderful comfortable bed, so that's why she was completely out of pain, and the soft bed feels good. Oh yes sir. When Mr. Thompson asked her, are you feeling quite comfortable over this soft bed? The girl said yes sir. What a satisfaction when she replied was there in her voice, and with this satisfaction actually there was the mingling up of the gratitude was mingled up, and two feelings were there in her tone. Supper is ready, said Mrs. Thompson. Mrs. Thompson told Mr. Thompson that the food is quite ready, and looking into the room a little while afterwards, and thereafter Mrs. Thompson told Mr. Thompson that the supper is ready. Joe glanced from his wife's face to that Maggie. First of all, Joe sometimes threw his glances towards the side of Maggie, then to his wife, then to Maggie, and he wanted to check out, and she wanted to understood what actually were there into the eyes of the twos, and answered she can wait until we are done. Then he wanted to check it out whether she will admit it openly, she is possessive towards the girl, or still she will take some time. So Mrs. Thompson actually did not do what Mr. Thompson was expecting, and she said that we will give the food to this girl later on. First of all, we will complete our supper, we will finish our food. There was an effort of indifference on the part of Mrs. Thompson, though Mrs. Thompson was trying her level best to remain indifferent towards that very girl, but her husband had seen her through the window. But as you students know it very well that through the window Mr. Thompson already had seen everything, and whatever the possessiveness, whatever actually the coldness this time Mrs. Thompson was showing, that was simply assumed by her, not real. Joe waited after sitting down to the table for his wife to introduce the subject uppermost in both of their thoughts. Now at the time of food, Joe Thompson was waiting that Mrs. Thompson should start the topic, and the topic of Maggie should be at the top, and Mrs. Thompson should start. But she kept silent. But Mrs. Thompson did not say anything else over this very issue, and for many minutes, and he maintained a like reserve. And Mrs. Thompson and Mr. Thompson too was looking silent, and at last she said abruptly. Abruptly means all of a sudden Mrs. Thompson thereafter spoke. What are you going to do with that very child? Now Mr. Thompson, tell me what is to be done of this very child. I thought you understood me. Mr. Thompson told her that earlier already in the morning I have told you, why you are repeating the same question to me. And Mrs. Thompson looked rather strangely at her husband for some moments. Mrs. Thompson was not anticipating this from her husband, because she knew it very well that Mrs. Thompson will request before her. But Mr. Thompson, regarding that very girl, but Mr. Thompson was looking indifferent, and he was already looking firm on his first decision, and then dropped her eyes. Mrs. Thompson, who was looking surprised, now bent down her eyes, and his subject was not again referred during the meal. Then the food was silently taken, and there was no reference now regarding Maggie. And at its close, when the food was taken, Mrs. Thompson toasted a slice of bread, softened it. Thereafter, she offered this thing, bread को स्लाइस कर लिया, काट लिया, सॉफ्ट कर लिया, उसके ऊपर मिल्क बटर लगाया उसने, एंड देयर आफ्टर विद द कप ऑफ टी शी टुक दिस फूड टू मैगी and had the small waiter, and keeping all these things in a waiter means plate, and she brought all these things to Maggie in like a very hungry child, a greedy one, and she, showing the pleasure, showing happiness, she ate it up all the things. Is it good? Asked Mrs. Thompson. Mrs. Thompson asked her whether the food was quite good, and seeing with what a keen relish the food was taken, because Mrs. Thompson was looking towards the face of Maggie, who was taking food in a relish, with a taste, And the child paused with the cup in her hand. Now the child stopped and answered with a look of gratitude, and that awoke to new life to old human feelings. Now whatever the attitude, whatever the gratitude, जितना आभार था, obligation था उसकी eyes में, now the old human feelings actually, the human feelings which was subdued up to now into the heart of Mrs. Thompson, actually they actually started generating into the heart, because scores of years had gone by and there was no such feelings in her heart. But now to see such a gratitude, such an innocent face of Maggie, such feelings generated into her heart. We'll keep her day or two longer. Now Mrs. Thompson told her husband that we will keep Maggie 1 or 2 days more in our house, because she is very weak and helpless. And in answer to husband's remark at breakfast time on the next morning, and this statement was given by Mrs. Thompson when early next morning Mr. Thompson actually was going to seek the guardians of the poor house, and he wanted to take Maggie with him, but Mrs. Thompson protested. And she will be so much in your way, said Joe. Joe told her wife deliberately, knowingly, though he also wanted to keep Maggie inside his house forever like his own child, but he said to his wife that Maggie would be quite troublesome for you, and still she is bedridden, so that's why I should get her admitted as soon as possible. And shall not mind, I shall not mind, and that for a day or two, poor thing, it's a very helpless child, and I will not mind this trouble for 1 day or 2 days trouble, Mrs. Thompson assured her husband. And Joe did not see the guardians of the poorhouse on that very day, and that day was gone, and another day was gone, another day was gone, like this so many days were gone, and Mr. Thompson never went to find out the guardians of the poorhouse in concern of Maggie. Only less than a week, Mrs. Joe Thompson would as soon leave thought of taking up her own abode in the almshouse as sending Maggie there. As Mr. Thompson would leave the thought to get admitted into poor house, and the time regarding herself, whatever the time she would take, the same time she had taken to give up this thought regarding Maggie also, because she did not want that Maggie should leave her anyhow. What light and blessing did that sick and helpless child bring to the home of Joe Thompson? The wonderful light of happiness actually came with that very child into the family of Joe Thompson, who was a poor wheelwright. And it had been because poor boy, why? Because they were childless. They did not have any child in the family. And it had been dark and cold and miserable. For a long time, there was no darkness, there was no happiness. Everywhere there is darkness, everywhere there is coldness, seriousness, and there was miserable conditions prevailed inside the house. And just because his wife had nothing to love, because there was no child in the family to be loved and to be cared, and so that's why the temperament of Mrs. Thompson became irritated. She was looking ill-tempered, चिड़चिड़ी हो गई थी वो, and sometimes actually she used to afflict, she used to curse herself in desolation. Whenever desolation means ekant, whensoever she was alone, she used to curse herself, and being childless. And now the sweetness of that sick child, looking ever her in love, patience and gratitude, because every time actually these three feelings were there inside the eyes of that very girl: gratitude, patience, love. So that's why this sweetness actually had developed love into her soul, into the soul of that very lady, and was as honey as to her soul. It was as much sweet as honey itself is, and she carried her in her heart as well as in her arms. Now Joe Thompson, who used to live alone earlier, now started roaming here and there inside her house, taking Maggie into her arms, because she was also feeling Maggie precious for herself, though she was heavy in weight, but she did not mind it. And as for Joe Thompson, there was not a man in all the neighborhood who drank daily a more precious wine of life than he. Now Joe Thompson also felt himself as much lucky as nobody might be in his neighborhood. Now the wine of happiness he used to drink excessively in his neighborhood. Nobody was as much intoxicated in love and happiness as Mr. Joe Thompson was. So now this was because of Maggie, and he used to absorb always in her thoughts. An angel had come into his house, no doubt in it, and They also were the angels for Maggie, no doubt also in it, disguised as a sick, helpless, and miserable child. Maggie, in the guise of a sick, in the guise of a helpless, in the guise of a miserable child, had come to their families. So that's why they were very lucky regarding this, and filled all its dreary chambers. Dreary means lonely chambers, lonely rooms with sunshine of love. Now everywhere there was sunshine of love. So this was the story, students, and very inspiring, very nice story. This is now very now the questions of this story are very easy for you to answer. So I should let you know the meanings of the question. How did the old man die? Old woman किस तरह मरी? And you have to give the meaning of this line. I have already told you. Now the second question of the first extract, what kind of relations did the woman have with others? जो डेड लेडी मरी थी, एंड what kinds of relations, किस तरह के relations थे उसके जो नेबरहुड के लोग थे उनके साथ, एंड वाई डू यू थिंक इट्स वॉज सो, और आपको ऐसा क्यों लगता है कि इस तरह के रिलेशंस उसके उस नेबरहुड के लोगों के साथ थे. थर्ड क्वेश्चन स्टूडेंट्स, व्हाट चेंज अकर्ड इन द बिहेवियर ऑफ द नेबर्स आफ्टर द वुमन्स डेथ. किस तरह के चेंजेस नेबर्स के बिहेवियर में आए उस लेडी की डेथ के बाद, जब वो मर गई तब. एंड नाउ स्टूडेंट्स, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ लिविंग कंडीशंस वर द वुमन एंड हर चिल्ड्रन सब्जेक्टेड टू. कौन सी कंडीशंस के अधीन थे, सब्जेक्टेड टू थे वो वुमन और उसके बच्चे, कौन सी कंडीशंस को फेस कर रहे थे वो. एंड व्हाट वाज द प्रोस्पेक्टिव फ्यूचर ऑफ द चिल्ड्रन का जो प्रोस्पेक्टिव फ्यूचर था, संभावित फ्यूचर था, वो क्या था आफ्टर द डेथ ऑफ देयर मदर, उनकी मदर के मरने के बाद. इन द एंड ऑफ द स्टोरी, विच चाइल्ड डू यू थिंक वॉज सराउंडेड विद लव. कहानी के एंड में आपको क्या लगता है कि कौन से बच्चे को सबसे ज़्यादा लव मिला, वो सराउंड हुआ लव से, प्यार से, और ऐसा आपको क्यों लगता है स्टूडेंट्स. सेकेंड एक्सट्रैक्ट, रीड दिस एक्सट्रैक्ट एंड क्वेश्चंस आर गिवन. हु वाज ग्लांस्ड एट विद पिटी, कौन जो है पिटीएबल ग्लांसेस के साथ, नज़रों के साथ जो है हु वाज ग्लांस, किसको देखा जा रहा था और क्यों देखा जा रहा था. नाउ सेकंड क्वेश्चन, सेकंड पार्ट ऑफ दिस क्वेश्चन, आई थिंक वन इज लेफ्ट. यस, फर्स्ट पार्ट इज गिवन, गिव द मीनिंग ऑफ हर वैन एंड वेस्टेड फॉर्म. ये इसका मीनिंग आपको बनाना है, वैन एंड वेस्टेड फॉर्म. जो मैगी के कंसर्न में कहा गया है कि कितनी पुअर कंडीशन थी उसकी, किस तरीके से वो पिटीएबल और मिजरेबल फॉर्म थी उसकी. एंड नाउ नेक्स्ट वन इज़ इवन नॉक्ड एट देम फॉर एंट्रेंस. इसका आपको मतलब बताना है कि दिलों में एंट्री होने के लिए कि वो लोग उसको अपने दिलों में जगह दें, फीलिंग्स में जगह दें, उसके लिए दरवाजे खटखटाना, दिल का दरवाज़ा खटखटाना, ताकि वो उनके फीलिंग्स में आ सके मैगी, ये आपको लिखना है. एंड विच इंसिडेंट मेड दी चाइल्ड बेड रेडन. अब आपको बताना है ऐसी क्या घटना हुई थी जिससे कि जो चाइल्ड था मैगी वो बेड रेडन हो गई थी. एंड वाई डिड द मदर ब्रिंग कास्ट ऑफ गारमेंट्स फॉर मैगी. जो मदर्स थी सराउंडिंग, जो नेबरहुड था, वो लेडीज़ जो मदर्स थी वो कास्ट ऑफ गारमेंट्स जो थी वो मैगी के लिए, जो पुराने कपड़े थे, उतरे हुए यूज्ड कपड़े थे, वो क्यों लेके आई. एंड विच शेल्टर वॉज सजेस्टेड बाई वन ऑफ द नेबर्स फॉर द बेड रेडन चाइल्ड. जब किसी पड़ोसी से पूछा गया कि भाई ये बेड रेडन चाइल्ड को के लिए कौन सी जगह ठीक रहेगी, तो उसने कौन सी शेल्टर का नाम लिया, कौन सी जगह का नाम लिया और क्यों. एंड व्हाट रोल डज द चाइल्ड प्ले इन द लाइफ ऑफ. वो चाइल्ड जो है वो इनकी लाइफ में क्या रोल प्ले करता है. मैगी जो थॉमसन की लाइफ में क्या रोल प्ले करती है और जेन थॉमसन की लाइफ में क्या रोल प्ले करती है. नाउ द स्टूडेंट्स, नेक्स्ट एक्सट्रैक्ट, दैट इज ऑफ फ्रिवल थिंग टू लीव हर सो, who are having the conversation in the above extract. as you can see ऊपर के extract में किसके बीच में आपस में बात हो रही है, and what is the main topic of their conversation. उनके बीच में क्या टॉपिक डिस्कस हो रहा है. why was Maggie's effort to raise herself painful. मैगी ने अपने आप को रेस किया, बैठाया मुश्किल से बेड पे, तो उसको इतना मुश्किल क्यों हुई बैठने में. ओके, उसको पेन क्यों हुआ. वॉट थॉट टेरिफाइड मैगी. मैगी को कौन से थॉट्स ने टेरिफाई कर दिया, डरा दिया. वॉट डिड शी एक्सक्लेम टू मिस्टर थॉमसन. और उसने मिस्टर थॉमसन से क्या कहा. वाई डू यू थिंक द मैन स्टूड विद ए पजल्ड एयर. आपको ऐसा क्यों लगता है कि जो मैन है मिस्टर थॉमसन है वो पजल्ड एयर के साथ, कंफ्यूज्ड फीलिंग्स के साथ खड़ा हुआ था. एंड व्हाट डिड ही डू व्हेन ही वेंट इनटू द होवल. और जब वो झोंपड़ी के अंदर गया तब उसने क्या किया, होवल के अंदर जा करके जो थॉमसन ने क्या किया. नाउ दी स्टूडेंट्स, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ मैन वॉज जो थॉम्सन? मिस्टर जो थॉम्सन किस तरह का पर्सन था? गिव रीजन्स टू जस्टिफाई योर आंसर। आपने जैसे भी बताया मिस्टर थॉम्सन को, उसके लिए आप एक दो रीजंस दे सकते हैं अपनी बात को प्रूव करने के लिए करेक्ट। फोर्थ एक्सट्रैक्ट, दिस इज गिवन, मिस्टर थॉम्सन सॉ हिम अप्रोचिंग फ्रॉम द विंडो। होम डिड मिसेस थॉम्सन सी अप्रोचिंग? मिसेस थॉम्सन ने किसको आते हुए देखा? ओके, व्हाट प्रीशियस बर्डन वॉज ही कैरिंग? कौन सा प्रीशियस बर्डन वो लेके आ रहा था अपने साथ में? एंड वाई वॉज द बर्डन प्रीशियस? और वो बर्डन जो था उसको प्रीशियस क्यों बोला गया है? व्हाट डिड मिसेस थॉम्सन आस्क हर हस्बैंड? मिसेस थॉम्सन ने अपने हस्बैंड से क्या पूछा? एंड हाउ डिड मिस्टर थॉम्सन जो थॉम्सन रिएक्ट टू इट? और मिस्टर थॉम्सन ने कैसे रिएक्शन किया, किस तरह से रिएक्ट किया, क्या रिएक्शन दिया? डिस्क्राइब जो थॉम्सन्स बिहेवियर। जो थॉम्सन के बिहेवियर को डिस्क्राइब करिए। सिंस द डे ही ब्रॉट दी सिक चाइल्ड होम, उस दिन से डिस्क्राइब करिए जिस दिन से उस बीमार बच्ची को अपने घर लेके आया, तब से उसका बिहेवियर डिस्क्राइब करिए। कैसा बिहेवियर में क्या चेंज आ गया था? व्हाट रीज़न डिड जो थॉम्सन गिव हिज वाइफ फॉर ब्रिंगिंग चाइल्ड होम? जो थॉम्सन ने क्या रीज़न दिया कि वो उस बच्चे को क्यों घर लेके आया है? एंड व्हाट डज इट रिवील अबाउट जो थॉम्सन्स करेक्टर? और इससे हमें जो थॉम्सन के करेक्टर के बारे में क्या पता चलता है, क्या शो ऑफ होता है? फिफ्थ क्वेश्चन है स्टूडेंट्स, व्हाट वाज द रिएक्शन ऑफ मिसेस थॉम्सन? मिसेस थॉम्सन का क्या रिएक्शन था व्हेन द सिक चाइल्ड वाज ब्रॉट इन, जब बच्चे को अंदर लाया जो थॉम्सन? एंड हाउ डिड हर एटीट्यूड चेंज लेटर? और बाद में उसका एटीट्यूड उस बच्चे को लेकर क्यों चेंज हो गया? व्हाई, व्हाट डू यू थिंक ब्रॉट अबाउट द चेंज? आपको क्या लगता है कि कौन सी चीज़ रिस्पॉन्सिबल थी उसके नेचर में इस तरह का चेंज लाने के लिए? Now the students last extract, and this is the extract. Mrs. Thompson did not reply, and thereafter it was a good omen. To whom did Mrs. Thompson not reply? Mrs. Thompson ने किसको जवाब नहीं दिया? And who was Maggie? Maggie कौन थी? What made Mrs. Thompson move towards Maggie? और ऐसी कौन सी बात थी जिससे कि मिसेस थॉम्सन अपने कदमों को नहीं रोक पाई छोटे से रूम में जाने से? नाउ द स्टूडेंट्स, वाई डिड जो लीव हिज वाइफ अलोन विद द चाइल्ड? जो ने अपनी वाइफ को अकेला क्यों छोड़ दिया उस बच्चे के साथ में? एंड व्हाट डिड जो सी व्हेन ही केम बैक होम फ्रॉम द शॉप? और जब वो दुकान से अपने घर आया तब जो ने क्या देखा, ये भी आपको बताना है। ओके, नाउ द थर्ड क्वेश्चन, वाई डिड जो कंसिडर लाइट शाइनिंग थ्रू द विंडोज एज गुड ओमेन? जो थॉम्सन ने जो रोशनी विंडो से आ रही थी उसको शुभ सूचक क्यों माना है, उसने उसको अच्छा इंडिकेशन क्यों माना? नाउ नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, डिस्क्राइब ब्रीफली जो थॉम्सन्स कैरेक्टरिस्टिक ट्रेट्स एज रिफ्लेक्टेड इन दिस एक्सट्रैक्ट। एक्सट्रैक्ट में से आंसर देना है स्टूडेंट्स, और उसकी जो ट्रेट्स हैं, विशेषताएं हैं, क्वालिटीज़ हैं जो थॉम्सन के कैरेक्टर की, वो आपको ब्रीफली डिस्क्राइब करनी है। व्हाट डिड जो गैदर फ्रॉम मैगीज फेशियल एक्सप्रेशन? अब मैं अपनी वाइफ को तो नहीं देख पा रहा था विंडो से, तो उसने मैगी के फेशियल एक्सप्रेशंस को देखा, और उन फेशियल एक्सप्रेशंस से उसने क्या अंदाज़ा लगाया कि उन दोनों में नेगेटिव या पॉजिटिव किस तरह की बातें हो रही थी। एंड टू व्हाट एक्सटेंट डिड इट रिलीव हिम? और उसको इस तरह की बात से किस हद तक जो है रिलीफ मिला, कंफर्ट मिला? एंड वाई डिड इट रिलीव हिम? और उसने ये कंफर्ट क्यों फील किया? Okay students, so this was the story, and I do hope that the contents of the story are very clear to you, and now you can answer all these questions in your own language. Once again, in your rough notebook, if you want to write the answers, write them. And but before writing the answer, 2 times, first of all from the textbook you should read the contents of the story. Thereafter from the workbook also some good points you should go through, so that you can write some handsome answers, some good answers. And I expect that all the students can do it very nicely. And if you have any problem, then you can contact me, and rest is quite okay. And okay, with some other story, I will meet you soon, and till then, thank you very much, and have a good day, students.